Hello everyone, I hope you're doing good. Welcome to my frankly ridiculous book haul. Okay, so I thought I would do this book haul now as opposed to waiting for the end of the month. I figure I'll just do them when I am embarrassed by the amount of books that I have to talk about with you. Or maybe try and do them before we reach this point next time. Just whenever I feel like I have enough to talk about. But honestly, I'm working like a real person job at the moment after being broke at uni for so long, and online shopping is it's dangerous to say the least. So I have too many books to talk about with you right now, and let's just get started. My first set of books is, I'm just going to sort of briefly talk about them, but I want to read more poetry, and the only way to do that really is to consume poetry. So I bought some poetry anthologies and I'm looking forward to reading them. But I don't really know how to explain a poetry anthology to you, so I'm just going to basically show you them and then we'll move on. So the first one I have here is Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. It's just an anthology of Emily Dickinson poems. She's very famous, and Hope it's a very pretty edition. There are lots of different Emily Dickinson anthologies out there, but this was the prettiest, and so this is the one I decided to go for because I'm not vain at all. So yeah, looking forward to reading some more Emily Dickinson. I think I've read 2 or 3 of her poems in the past and enjoyed them, but that's nothing. So, first anthology. The next one I have here is 6 French Poets of the 19th Century. So those poets are, well, I'm just going to read them out because it's French and my pronunciation is going to be shocking. Alphonse de Lamartine, Victor Hugo, Charles Baudelaire, Paul Verlaine, Arthur Rimbaud, and Stéphane Mallarmé. And this is a copy with the French and the English sort of next to each other on the pages, so it's much bigger than it needs to be. Yeah, just French poetry, very famous. I thought I may as well try some of these very famous French poets. And one of my friends really likes Rimbaud, however you want to pronounce that. So I thought I would give this one a try. Next, we have The Mirror of My Heart, which is 1,000 Years of Persian Poetry by Women. And this one it called out to me. I don't want to just read poetry from Western voices, so not just American, British and European poets, so I thought this one might be a good place to start expanding my horizons a little bit. The next one I have here is Rumi, Selected Poems, so it's just an anthology of the Persian philosopher Rumi's poetry. I've heard nothing but good things about Rumi. This is just, like I said, a selection of their poetry. So I am looking forward to reading some of this and seeing if I want to delve more into Rumi's work, because there's so much of it out there. Next, God, how much poetry did I write? Next, we have Metaphysical Poetry, which is an anthology of lots of different poets that deals with it's a whole movement of poetry that sprung up after, I believe, the Restoration period. But I'm sure that will be in the introduction. But yeah, nothing to say other than I'm looking forward to reading it. Next is a very itty bitty one, and it is Sonnets to Orpheus and Duino Elegies by Rilke. It's the Duino Elegies is one of my friend's favourite poems. So when I had a crisis and was like, I want to be the kind of person that reads more poetry, they suggested this one, and also Sonnets to Orpheus. Like, I'm still in my Hades Town phase, and I'm intrigued by that. And I've heard everyone talks about Rilke, so trying out Rilke. I will undoubtedly want to purchase an actual anthology of Rilke at some point, maybe read Letters to a Young Poet, but this is what I'm starting with. And my final poetry collection, thank goodness, is just poems by Elizabeth Bishop. It's the Centenary edition, and I believe it's just an anthology of all Elizabeth Bishop poems. I'm excited to read this. I've heard lots of people talking about Elizabeth Bishop recently after having never heard of her throughout my life, but in the past 3 months several people have mentioned Elizabeth Bishop, so yeah, I'm excited to give it a go. So yeah, not a massive amount of not American and European poetry there, but I'll get there eventually. So next, I guess we dive into the fantasy books that I've bought. So first we have The Wren Hunt by Mary Watson. I believe Ashley from a Frolic Through Fiction talk about this, but if it was somebody else then maybe I bought the wrong book. But it sounds intriguing. It's based on Irish folklore, I believe, about a girl who is hunted, but if they found out that she was really this certain creature, then the hunt would become deadly. And honestly, it's very intriguing. The cover's gorgeous, and I'm excited to read it and find out more. Next, I stupidly bought The Tower of Living and Dying by Anna Smith Spark, which is a sequel to to a book that I currently have out from the library. I got it from the library, it was on hold, and it came off of hold as I was doing some online book shopping, and this one came up like really cheap, and so I just bought it, even though I haven't actually read the first book yet. So it's the second Eyes of Dust novel. I've heard that the series is really good. It's adult fantasy, and I've heard that it's quite diverse. I believe there's some queer characters, but like other than people have enjoyed it, I know nothing about it. So got a nice cover. I thought I may as well get the sequel while it was cheap, and I may enjoy it in the future. Next we have the 5th season, The Obelisk Gate and The Stone Sky, all by N.K. Jemisin. It was sold as a box set, so I got all 3, but I'm also pretty certain I'm going to enjoy this whole trilogy. They all won the Hugo Award, and I've heard nothing but good things about this series, and I know that once I finish the 5th season I will want to immediately dive into the sequel, so I thought I may as well get all 3 while they're there. But this one, I have never heard anyone give a synopsis of this that like made sense to my brain, so I'm just going to read you out the back and hope that it intrigues you as much as it intrigued me. So, this is the way the world ends for the last time. It starts with the Great Red Rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land long familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon, and where there is no mercy. Like, come on, does that not sound fantastic? So yeah, looking forward to starting these eventually. I might do a video where I try and read all 3 of them in a weekend, but I don't know if I'll need like time to process, so we'll see if that happens, but let me know if you'd want to see it. Next we have another book that I've already talked about kind of recently actually, in my 5-star predictions video, and that is Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell. I bought this one really recently after watching Jade from JD Ray Reads talk with Sebastian de Castell on her channel, and I was just really endeared to him as a person. And I mean, I've wanted to read some of Jade's favourite books for a while now because she just talks about them in a way that makes me excited about them, and just not got around to it. But I checked Amazon and this was really cheap, so I went for it. And also Dorothea Agosi was also quite cheap. I bought this mainly because it was so cheap, and if I don't like it then I'm sure there will be someone out there who will be excited to find this in a charity shop. But yeah, I bought these 2 books not really knowing what they're about. This one is a prequel to this series, so I'm just going to read you out the back of this and hopefully we can all be excited about it. Magic is a con game. Kellan is moments away from facing his first mage's duel and the start of 4 trials that will make him a spellcaster. There's just one problem. His magic is gone. As his 16th birthday approaches, Kellan falls back on his cunning until a daring stranger challenges him to take a different path. That sounds great. Now, this one, prequel to I believe it's about someone called Farius who we meet in Spellslinger, and I'm excited to know who she is and want to read this book eventually. But yeah, impulse buys at 3 AM. Can't say I regret it. We're coming to the end of the fantasy section now, which is exciting, but we have The Winter Duke by Claire Eliza Bartlett. This is honestly beautiful. Like, look at those end pages. I don't know what this is about, if I'm being completely honest with you, and I would read out the inside of the dust jacket, but it's kind of long and I feel like that would be kind of boring. So it's a little thing here says fraught with tension and political intrigue, so that's exciting. Electrifying feminist fantasy. Like, I'm here for all of this. So it's got some great buzzwords, beautiful cover. It was also kind of cheap. I have no excuse. I don't think I even bought this one at 3 AM, so. Next we have Bone Crier's Dawn by Catherine Purdy. I read this, the first book in the series, Bone Crier's Moon. I thought it was Moon, but my brain told me it was wrong. Which is about two best friends who have to kill their true love in a special ceremony in order to become Bone Criers, and it goes wrong. I think that's all you need to know. And this is the sequel. I thought I'd ordered the Fairy Loot edition, and I hadn't, so when everyone started receiving theirs I went and checked my orders and I'd forgotten to do that. So this is just the regular edition, and it's very shiny compared to the original that I have, but I'm excited to see how this duology concludes. I enjoyed Bone Crier's Moon. It wasn't my favourite book, but it was entertaining and it kept me engrossed, so looking forward to seeing how the characters get through the ending of the last book and how things progress. And finally for the fantasy section, and then we really don't have many more to go, like we're nearly there, I have The Saviour's Champion by Jenna Morici. This book, right, so I gifted this to Maddie from Book Browsing Blog, and when she opened it in a vlog she said that it was really heavy, like it has some weight to it, and I was just like, what is she talking about? But like, it does, it's like heavy. It feels like non-fiction, you know, like really heavy non-fiction. It's like the big chunky books in the library that you'd read when you were a kid that you would just like not have any clue what they were about, but you felt official when you were holding them. It feels like that. But yeah, I saw Cody from Cody's Book Corner talking about the sequel to this one, and she mentioned that she really liked the first one. So I looked it up, and yeah, it does sound intriguing. So I believe it's about like a sort of gladiator fight. There's a tournament. This guy has to compete in this tournament to compete for the Saviour's hand. I believe the Saviour is the ruler, in order to save his family. And I guess we follow that guy in his journey through this tournament where he fights all these other people to marry the Saviour so that his family's okay. And I'm really intrigued. But yeah, very excited to get to this eventually. I think me and Maddie were thinking about Buddy reading it, but we will see if that ever happens. And finally, we just have like a very small contemporary section. I do want to buy more contemporary fiction, but I'm holding off until I've made space for all of these things, because buying as many books as I have is ridiculous. But first, we have some graphic novels. We have Check Please Volume 1, which is this one. There we go, Check Please. And then Check Please Book 2, Sticks and Scones. And I thought there were going to be more than this, but apparently there's just the two. And it's about a guy called Bitty who goes to college and plays hockey but also bakes. I'm gonna have to go turn my volume down because this is ridiculous. And I've read most of Check Please. For fuck's sake, Lindsay. I've read most of Check Please before free online, but I don't know where I got up to, so I'm just going to read the whole thing again now that I've like supported the author and bought the graphic novels. I'm very excited to finally see how the story ends. It's so wholesome. It's about Bitty, who is gay and out and competing in college level sports in the US, which is difficult sometimes. And he also he runs a video, like a YouTube channel, like he does videos about baking, which is just so wholesome. And it's about him living in the hockey house and his relationships and friendships, and it's so sweet and wholesome. And I'm so excited to finally finish this and just see how happy everyone is at the end. And the final book I bought is The Flip Side by James Bailey, which I believe is a romance about a guy who gets dumped as he goes to propose to somebody as they're on the London Eye, and he gets to the end of that excruciating trip around the London Eye after having been said no to, and decides that he's going to live his life by just flipping a coin and seeing what happens. And yeah, I'm hoping that this is really cute and fun and perfect for the nice sunny weather that we'll hopefully be getting soon. So, oh, I forgot one. I was given a gift. It was a belated Christmas present because lockdowns happened, but yes, I was gifted Lingo by Gaston Doran, which is just a non-fiction about language. So yeah, I think it's just like a fun, witty take on, not take, but a fun, witty explanation of languages and why they're different. I believe it's just centered around Europe. Yeah, a language spotter's guide to Europe. Sounds like it'll be interesting, whilst also being entertaining, so not too dull, which is an issue with a lot of non-fiction that I've tried to read in the past that try and teach you things. So yeah, thank you for this one. And that was so many books, and I'm hesitant to try and pick them all up for a thumbnail. But yeah, I upload videos every Wednesday and Sunday, or I try to. If you liked this, please let me know in the comments or like this video. Subscribe if you want to see more content from me. Hopefully there won't be a book haul for a while. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.